I was born in Congo. My family and I, we had to flee. There was a war going on. One thing I remember is the bombs and the shootings that were behind us as we're running. You hear people screaming too. Each day we live, each step we took, we knew that something was gonna happen to our lives. We never knew if we were gonna survive. My mom and I were the only one who survived. And that was one of the reasons we had to go to Rwanda. As someone who were raised in the refugee camp, I can tell you that the life in the camp was not easy. The hardest part was just seeing people facing hunger. And since I never had a big brother to support me, all these kids would come and beat me up, hitting me. I just felt like I was a victim. Even though there was all this sadness, I knew there was God out there who cares for people. So what I did was I started praying to God. Then I started going to the Catholic church to look for him. At the age of 7, I saw these 2 women, because I came to Rwanda, they were witnesses, Jehovah's Witnesses. I was so inspired by their smile. And these women had like the Bible in their hands, and the track they gave me was about paradise. Now, knowing that there's a hope for the future, there's something good coming, knowing that there's a meaning of life, this brought me so much joy. The moment I started using Jehovah's name, the moment I started praying to Jehovah, he became so real to me. He became my big brother. He became more than a big brother, because when I prayed the first time in Jehovah's name, that day, like all those kids who were beating me, who were hitting me up, now wanted to be my friend. And this was the day after I went to my first meeting. Really, Jehovah put a wall between my enemies. Jehovah became my rescuer in that moment. And right here, I knew this is my God. And I was determined to never leave him. I was determined to serve him my whole life.
We're watching the story of Maombi Vianney as recounted in the March JW Broadcasting episode. Looks like a really sweet guy. You really do feel for him when he's telling his story. But what can I say? I can only repeat what I have to say in testimonial after testimonial. This is someone who's being exploited. He's very clearly been exploited through his circumstances as someone who's been through a traumatic experience. He's been pounced upon by a cult that has lied to him and used his ordeal as a refugee as leverage to sell promises, false promises of a better future, if only he will follow the leaders, if only he will follow the faithful slave. And he's being exploited in the here and now by being made to tell his story on camera and cry for the audience, show how emotional his connection with Jehovah's Witnesses is. But what have we really heard in support of the truthfulness of the Jehovah's Witness religion? We've heard absolutely nothing. What we're hearing, again, are pleas to emotion, emotional reasoning. It's very, very clever, as I've repeatedly said. I keep having to say it, but if you can appeal to people's emotions, you can bypass, in many cases, their need for logic, their need for reasoned arguments. And the JW Broadcasting team, the people behind this propaganda, they have got it off to a fine art. They do it in episode after episode. In this episode, we're going to get 2 tearful testimonials. This is just the first. And honestly, if I'd been watching this as a Jehovah's Witness, This is the sort of stuff that would have appealed to me. This is the sort of segment in the episode where I would have been able to zero in on this and forget about the more cringeworthy elements, the music video, the poor reasoning in the introductory talk. All of that I would have glossed over, and I would have zeroed in on the human stories and drawn strength from those. I would have used stories like Maombi's to strengthen my faith. But again, what in his story tells us that Jehovah's Witnesses have the one and only true faith? There's not a single thing in what he said that satisfies that argument.
Being in the darkness, it was so hard, but now for everything that Jehovah had done for me, it just felt as if like he pulled me out of this darkness. Like, son, come out. He pulled me out of this darkness toward the light. You come to serve Jehovah, you rely on Jehovah, you make Jehovah your salvation, he shows you who he is.
If you're suffering some kind of trial and you're searching for God, be encouraged by Maombi's story. Jehovah knows your struggles, and he draws all deserving ones to him.
Jehovah knows your struggles, and he draws all deserving ones to him. More gaslighting. We heard it before from Ralph Walls in his introductory talk, where he described all those who have fallen away from Jehovah's Witnesses as weak, as in need of being bandaged. And now we're getting this trope that Jehovah calls only the deserving ones. So in other words, if you're not persuaded by Jehovah's Witness teachings, then it's because you're not deserving. And by the same token, if you fall away from Jehovah's Witnesses because you're no longer persuaded by their teachings, again, the fault is with you. It's because you're just not deserving. What does it say about an organization that has to use that sort of language and has to stoop to such obvious gaslighting tactics, trying to make people question their own sanity, their own judgment, and whether or not they are deserving?